Welcome back to My Mythical Meta. This is another entry in the Eldorado Gaming deck series, which features Magic the Gathering decks played by the My Mythical Meta crew. Send us an email if you've got questions, comments, or suggestions, or just want to get in touch with the players. I'm Benjamin, and I'm joined by my favorite deck pilot, Derek.
Hello.
Today we're going to be looking at one of Derek's decks, based on two Lord of the Rings partner commanders, Frodo, Adventurous Hobbit, and Sam, Loyal Attendant. Now, I really like how tight this deck feels, how it comes out early, comes out swinging. It just feels so inevitable, like your life is draining away. We'll get more into that in a second. But first, this episode's community shout-out goes to Becky! Yay! Hooray! Thanks so much for taking the leap to support us. We're glad to have you in our community. Members, like Becky, get access to our Discord community, early access to episodes, and an exclusive 20% off code they can use at our sponsor, eldoradogaming.com. And also, for our patrons and our Full Hardness Metapods, we will record Deck Doctor videos on our channel featuring decks of our patrons. So, listener, if you're thinking about making the jump to support us directly, you can go to patreon.com/mymythicalmeta or click join anywhere here on YouTube that our videos are playing. Now for today's deck tech, Derek, tell us about what this deck is all about.
Benjamin wanted me to tell you guys what the title I call this deck. It's the 4th annual hot dog eating contest, proudly sponsored by Mordor. This is the Abzan Green, White, Black Hobbits deck with Frodo and Sam that was a pre-con, I guess 3 years ago now. And the idea of the deck is that we want to make food, gain life, and drain life for the win.
What bracket would you say this deck is? You said it started as a pre-con. Is it still bracket 2, do you think?
I think this would beat any pre-con. It was already a strong pre-con, I think, as far as pre-cons at the time went, and even now maybe. I think it's comfortably a high 3. I don't think this deck runs enough interaction, or there's not enough combo pieces or tutors or anything to really push it into 4. I don't think there's even any game changers, but
There's
I could
actually
be wrong.
3 game changers in it.
There are 3 game changers, okay. Oh yeah, the one ring, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's a comfortably bracket 3, maybe high bracket 3, possibly low 4.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so like all of our deck techs, we're not going to mention every single card in the deck. If you want to see the full deck list and how he's organized everything into categories, check the show notes down below, where we will put a link to the My Mythical Meta Arcadeck page and a link to this deck there. If you explore our Arcadeck page, you can find every deck we've ever featured on the show, decks from our patrons, and decks that we play in our meta. As we go through this, we will highlight the most synergistic cards in each of our core deck building categories. So we have ramp, card draw, removal or other interaction, protection, recursion if it exists, and then the most popular categories, synergy and finishers. So again, we're not going to go through everything in those categories. Sometimes you just plug staples in a category and you can just run with whatever the best cards you have are in that category. But we're going to highlight the cool things that make this deck unique, different, and that really help it to go above and beyond what you would expect from a pre-con. And then as we go through, if we do talk about an expensive card, we may take that opportunity to explain whether or not it's vital to the deck or whether or not you can replace it with another card in your collection. If it's vital and you can't afford it, Derek will always tell you, go proxy it, right?
Just proxy it. No one cares.
Yeah, don't let the price of the cards prevent you from having fun with your friends. So let's start it off. Derek, tell us about the commanders of this deck.
Yeah, so we mentioned it before, but this is Frodo, Adventurous Hobbit, and Sam, Loyal Attendant. Starting with Frodo, he's white-black. He's got Vigilance. He's a 1/3. That's important. And then whenever he attacks, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, the ring tempts you. Then if Frodo is your ring bearer and the ring has tempted you 2 or more times this game, draw a card. Then Sam, Loyal Attendant, he's green, white, 1. He's a 2/4. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a food token, and then activated abilities of foods you control cost 1 less to activate. That's the important thing that really helps this deck. So here's the idea. You want to get Frodo out as soon as possible. Ideally, turn 2. So it's super important to have, he's white-black, so having green like land war elves and all that stuff is not super helpful. I mean, it is helpful, but it's not super helpful for Frodo in this strategy. So you want to have, make sure you play your plains or your swamps out first. Your birds of paradise, your what's the one that's like birds of paradise, delighted halfling. You want to get Frodo out as fast as possible, and then Sam right afterwards on the next turn. There's a sub theme of the ring tempts you. Let me tell you about the ring's steps. So it's got 4 steps. The ring bearer is legendary and can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. The legendary part doesn't matter, but the blocked by creatures with greater power is the important part. Since Frodo only has 1 power, he's probably not going to be blocked by almost anything, unless people want to like chump block it. But he's got a 1/3 body, so he's probably going to survive it. So on the second, when your ring bearer attacks, draw a card, then discard a card. Frodo's ability is when we sacrifice food and gain 3 life, the ring tempts you. And then if he's your ring bearer and it's tempted you 2 or more times, so when you get to this level, you draw a card. So it'll tempt you, which is a trigger, and then Frodo's trigger goes on top. So you'll draw the card, and then the ring will. I guess you could organize it whichever way.
Yeah, they're both attack. They're both attack triggers. You can do it whichever you put them on the stack, whichever way you want. Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll draw a card from Frodo, and then you'll draw a card and discard a card from the ring. It's probably nicer to draw the card, and then if you got trash, you can throw 1 away like that. Rank 3, whenever your ring bearer becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller sacrifices at the end of combat, so no more chump blocking. And then 4 is where the money starts happening. Whenever your ring bearer deals combat damage to a player, each opponent loses 3 life. So he's probably getting in, dealing 1 damage, and then everyone is losing 3 life. So 2 players are losing 3, 1 player's losing 4, ideally.
Yeah, and it's so easy for you to get through all 4 of those levels with the ring tempting you so fast in this deck.
Yes.
Just from your commanders playing off of each other. You have a lot of 1-mana ramp cards, which we're moving into ramp. But the nice thing about it is if you play Frodo on turn 2 and Sam on turn 3, Sam's ability makes your foods only cost 1 to activate. So if you ramped on turn 1, he'll create a food token on your combat. You'll immediately sack that to gain 3 life, which then when you declare Frodo as an attacker, you'll have met his condition and the ring will tempt you, and you're off to the races.
Yes. And like I said, there's a sub-theme of ring tempts you because I want to get through this faster. I don't want to have to wait 4 turns of attacking just to get to there. And since, there is no going backwards, I don't have to redo these. It's better to get there as fast as possible. But yeah, we want to talk about ramp?
Yeah, let's talk about ramp. So I noticed you have a lot of the usual suspects, your 1-mana dorks, your soul ring, a lot of your, go find some land from your deck. But you've chosen 3 cards to highlight here. Tell us about this first one, Smeagol Helpful Guide. That's really interesting.
Yeah, this guy, he's green-black 1 for a 4/2, so he's got a pretty decent body for how cheap he is. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control this turn, the ring tempts you. So there's another ring tempts you card that goes into getting Frodo as souped up as possible. Then, whenever the ring tempts you, target opponent reveals cards from the top of your library top of their library until you reveal a land card. Put that card on the battlefield tapped under your control and the rest into your library. So this could be something that triggers 2 or 3 times a turn.
Yeah.
Over, every time it's your turn, Frodo's going to do it. And then at the end step, if you lost a creature, this could go off. And then there are other cards I have in here that also have ring tempts you. So you could be getting lots of lands from people.
Yeah, and if someone's itching for a land drop because they didn't build their deck right according to our our land principles and ramp principles from these other episodes, you're getting the next land in their deck, so they might not be drawing a land for a while.
Yeah, and especially since this is a 3-color deck, it's easy to kind of pick and choose which opponent you want to, I don't know, pick on. But like, hey, I'm more likely to get greens and whites over for this player. I'm gonna target them with the ability.
Yeah. I'd like to do this next one. I loved seeing this in your deck. It's Prized Pig. It's a 2-mana 0/3 boar. It says whenever you gain life, put that many ribbon counters on Prized Pig. Then if there are 3 or more ribbon counters on Prized Pig, remove those counters and untap it. And then it can tap to add 1 mana of any color. Well, gaining life, put that many counters. Well, if you've got a food going off, you're going to gain 3 life. You're going to put 3 counters on it. Then you'll remove it and untap it. So every time you sack a food, you get to untap your mana here. So it's essentially providing 2 mana per turn.
If you can sacrifice or I'm sorry, if you can gain 3 different things of life, right?
No, it says when you gain life, put that many ribbon counters on it.
Oh, that's even better than I thought. I think I've been playing this card wrong. I thought it was, it was you have to gain life and then every time's a trigger.
No,
That's pretty
it's
good. Yeah.
every time you gain 3 life, you untap it, 3 or more life. And of
Yeah.
course, if you
So,
gain less than 3 life, it still builds. No,
yeah, I
it's
mean, you can use this to tap it once to to sacrifice the food with Sam out and then untap it and use it for something else.
yeah. This plus Sam makes all your food cracking free, basically.
Yeah.
And that can happen multiple times a turn. If you can use it to sack all your food tokens. You tap it, you gain 3 life, it'll untap, you do it again,
Mhm.
and just go through all your foods if you're ever desperate for life. I love its inclusion in here. 2 mana for a mana dork is usually not great. I'm usually avoiding those unless it's doing something for my deck, but it's doing a
Yeah,
lot of
it's
work in
doing
this
something in
deck.
this deck.
Yeah. So awesome card.
Yeah. All right. The next, I guess, highlight I want to do for the ramp category is Eleanor Gardner. She's green 3, 2/4. When she enters the battlefield, create a food token. It's good. At the beginning of your end step, if you sacrifice the food this turn, you may search your library for a basic land card, put that card on the battlefield tap, then shuffle. Imagine a world where you have this card, Smeagol, and Frodo, all these triggers going off. You might, maybe you're getting 2 lands from Smeagol. You sacrifice the food to trigger Frodo. You've drawn 2 cards. Eleanor Gardner's triggered to let you search your library for a land card. I mean, you're really off for the races.
Yeah. It's amazing because your commanders are doing their thing regardless of what the rest of your deck's doing, right? You do 1 on turn 2, 1 on turn 3, and you're going. Well, then the rest of your deck is going big fast.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a bunch of ramp. I think you're running 14 pieces of ramp. And actually it's more than that because some of the stuff I'm looking at that could ramp you is in other categories.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see at least 15 pieces of ramp, and so you're able to go big. Your commanders are cheap, so usually what we talk about on this show is if you've got a lot of ramp, you need to draw cards so that you have stuff to do with it. So let's talk about your card draw and how are you spending that mana once you get it.
Yeah, well, I already talked about Frodo and how his ability is triggering the room temps, and then the second thing where you draw a card, discard a card, plus Sam's draw a card. So already your commander's doing quite a bit. Your first card and then 2 more cards, 3 cards a turn is pretty good. If you draw 1 more card, you're keeping pace with all of your opponents at once
Yeah.
without their own card draw. But going on with the ring tempts you synergy, there's the Call of the Ring, black and 1 for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, the ring tempts you. Whenever you choose a creature as your ring bearer, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. So the way the ring bearer works is that every time the ring tempts you, you choose a ring bearer. Now you're always going to choose Frodo, but every time you do it, you choose the ring bearer over and over again. Every time you choose it, if Smeagol is out and he's tempting you because a creature died this turn, that's drawing a card and that's taking someone else's land. Every time that's happening, you're drawing an extra card, paying 2 life. But the whole thing is about gaining life with food. 3 life from a food, you're still up mana by sacrificing 1 food.
Yeah. Or you're up life.
Yeah, up life. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. One of the game changers, you actually have 2 game changers in your draw category. With all this mana and value you're generating, you're spending it on card draw. So one of them is a big pay life, draw cards, and that's Necropotence. It is heavy on the mana requirement with black. It says skip your draw step. Whenever you discard a card, exile that card from your graveyard just to prevent you from going wild. You don't ever care about that, I don't think. Although with the ring tempting you, you are discarding cards regularly.
Yeah, there's not a ton of recursion in this deck. So, if being in the graveyard, it might as well not be in exile.
Gotcha. All right, and then it says pay 1 life, file the top card of your library face down, and put it into your hand at the beginning of your next end step. So the most common use for this card, especially at bracket 3, is you're going to draw up to 7 at the end of every turn, every one of your turns. And so you just wait till the end of your turn. You look down, you say, I have 3 cards in hand. You pay 4 life, file those 4 cards, and then put them in your hand. I will tell our listeners the better way is to pay 20 life and pick your best 7. Exile the rest. You don't care.
Yeah.
Dig. But you've got plenty of life in this deck, so turning each life into cards, awesome. It's a great way to do that.
Yeah, this is a card. I just had Necropotence in my library. I pulled it out of pack one time. I never found the deck to put it in, but this is the deck I think it's best in. The most important life in this deck is the last one, and we're gaining 3 life a turn. That's 3 cards we could be drawing with that without having any downside. I mean, I guess discarding the cards, the downside, but it's not a big deal, and it's really to help you, like, "Hey, I'm real stuck. I need something to get out of this hole." And like, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna spend ten life to draw 10 cards and see if I can fish myself out of here."
Yep. The other, you didn't put it on here, but I feel like it's worth including because it's just so on point, is it's the One Ring. So for those of y'all who don't know, the One Ring costs 4 mana. It's a legendary artifact. It's indestructible. And when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. So it's a good way to keep you safe. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose a life for each burden counter on it. In a life gain deck, that's negligible. And then you tap it to put a burden counter on it and draw cards equal to the number of burden counters on it. And so you're drawing 1, then 2, then 3, and so on every turn. In a Ring Tempt You deck, it's so flavorful that this is in here.
Yes.
And it's basically Necropotence in the sense that you're paying life to draw cards. You can't do it all at once. I certainly wouldn't say it's as good as Necropotence for drawing cards, but it's $70 for a reason. It's a good card, and
Yeah.
it's going to draw you a ton of cards and help you survive a turn and keep going. So that's another good one. All right, tell us about this last one that you want to highlight.
Yeah, the last one is the Gaffer. It's a white 2 halfling peasant with a 2/3 body. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, draw a card. Real simple, but since we're sacrificing foods, it's just going to draw us a free card. And I think, I always say this, the pod always says this, Benjamin will always say this, drawing cards is going to win you games. And this
Yes.
deck has so much card draw that it's honestly hard to keep up with. You're constantly picking the best 7 cards in your hand, and I think that's probably why this deck does as well as it does. And if I went back and tuned it to have more interaction, more stuff to deal with other people's nonsense, I think this could be a bracket 4 deck.
There's 6 targeted removal. You've got some other stuff. I think you're in a good place as far as interaction. It always does feel like the strongest deck at the table often. I think it does struggle without Frodo.
Yeah, you did humble me once. I was like, this deck has never lost. It's at one point I was like, this is the best deck I have. Like, it's ridiculous. And then I played against you, and I don't know what you had. It was some common artifact. It was nothing, but all it did was just say like, hey, untap target attacking creature, or target attacking creature can attack, something like that. It's very simple.
Yeah, it was Briber's Purse, I think.
Yeah, I'd
In
never heard of it
Zaxara.
before. Never seen
Yeah.
it after. Yeah, it just absolutely. Because I think what it is that I use Frodo to get a lot of that initial card draw up to speed, and then from there get the other card draw pieces. And I think I got unlucky in that game, but having Frodo not be able to attack and get those ring bearer triggers is rough.
Yeah. So I do think that having ways to protect Frodo might take this to the next level.
Yes, yeah, you're
More
right.
so than interacting with opponents' game plans, because I will say when I play against this deck, I always feel like I'm on the back foot. You come out swinging early, I can't afford to build my game plan because I got to deal with you. And if all I'm doing is setting up my game plan, I'm losing life too fast. You're drawing too many cards. So I think that for you it would be instead ways to protect your commanders so that you can keep executing the game plan.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that. I'll definitely look into that. Like, that's the beauty of this deck also, is that, Frodo costs white black. So if someone's going to use a Swords to Plowshare, they're going to pay 50% of his mana cost to get rid of him. Woo!
Man, and with a source of plowshares, they're gaining you 3 life. You're going to trigger a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, I like.
Oh, wait, swords is power, isn't it? Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, I think so.
Swords
Yeah.
is power. Yeah,
But Path, Path to Exile.
yeah, getting you a land.
But like, it is a feel bad moment for your opponents, because like, I cannot justify killing this creature that does 1 damage.
Right.
Like, it's an unassuming threat. Like, there's someone with a 20/20 commander that's going to kill someone next turn, and it's like, ah.
Well, since we're talking about this, what interaction do you have? I will say before we get into these cards that you've chosen, you do have a lot of the standard white black removal packages like Swords, like Path, like D-Spark that you're
Mhm.
going to see in pretty much any black and white or Abzan commander deck. But you've chosen a few that you don't see in every deck. What are these all about?
Yeah, so this this came in the pre-con, or maybe it was in the set, the Lord of the Rings set. I can't remember. But this is Crypt Incursion. It's black and 2 for an instant. Exile all creature cards from target player's graveyard. You gain 3 life for each card exiled this way. Talk about a huge swing in life. If I hit, you or Travis, or it could be even me. I don't have a non ridiculous amount of creatures, and I'm gonna gain 3 life from it. That's insane.
And I mean, I love that it's instant speed because there are enough graveyard decks in the meta that you can, when someone goes to do shenanigans, you're like, haha,
Yes. Not
they're gone.
today. I like it a lot.
Yeah. What about this Battle of Bywater?
Yeah, this is a white, and 1 sorcery. Because this deck is focused a lot about hobbits, that's kind of how the precon came, and I didn't change that much about it on that end. These creatures have very low power, but they have high toughness. So the Battle of Bywater is a sorcery: destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater, then create a food token for each creature you control. That's pretty good. I mean, there are a couple creatures this will hit, especially the hobbits that get like counters for doing stuff. But man, there's a lot of stuff that will survive this in this deck. The Gollum, Obsessed Stalker, Dina. Yeah, I mean, there's things that this is gonna hurt your opponents more than it hurts you, which is
Yeah.
why it's in here.
Okay. And
How about this next one?
yeah, no, you get this next one.
Okay, yeah. So this next card is another card I had in my collection. Could never find the right place for it. And then while I was building, I was like, oh, that'd be really cool to play in this deck. Killing Wave, black and X for sorcery. For each creature, its controller sacrifices it unless they pay X life. Woo, that's not a cost for us.
No.
No, I'll lose my little hobbit. They're not very good. I mean, they're good, but they're not like the best thing in the world. But also, I have the life to pay for it.
Yeah.
Especially if I did like Crypt Incursion, got a ton of life, a ton of life, and then I'm going to just I'll pay 3 life for each creature. Black and X equals 3. It's not bad for me. It'll wipe out a token board. When people start getting low on life, that's when the tough decisions get made. And I like that it's set. They have to sacrifice instead of destroy, or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think it's a fun little inclusion.
Yeah, I like that late game you can pump a bunch of mana into it and it'll clear out the board, and you have the life to pay, but then you can get in and finish people off. They're making tough decisions. Are they going to pay 8 life to keep that creature or not?
Yeah, it's a win-win for me.
I've always thought the Killing Wave was a bad card. When it came out, I was like, you can't play the cards because they're going to keep their 2 best creatures and let the rest die, and you're stuck. You've gone low on life because you kept some of your creatures and they kept their best ones. You didn't kill the things you wanted. But in Commander, especially in a deck like this where you're draining everybody anyway, they often don't have the life to save a bunch of creatures. And of course they can't block Frodo, so you're draining them for 3 more life. And there's so many, just the ability. It's not quite as good as, say, what's the really good
Toxic
Torment of
Deluge?
Hailfire.
Oh yeah, Torment. Yeah, okay.
It's not quite as good as Torment of Hailfire, right? But it's a cheaper version of that effect. Where they have to either sacrifice a creature or pay the life, and it does work. When you played it, and I'm sitting there going, "Dang, I've got 6 creatures. I can't keep them all," and having to make those tough decisions. I think it's a good inclusion in a life gain deck like this one.
Yeah, I think once X equals 2 is kind of rough, but X equals 3, that's when people start like, oh, I'm gonna have to get rid of some stuff. Like, you're definitely taking some collateral damage, or they're taking some collateral damage on their side.
Right. And then on your protection, you do have some of the normal stuff like Flawless Maneuver, right? Got to have that free, give your creatures indestructible so that when they're coming after you. But you included an interesting one here that looks really interesting. Tell us about Crested Sunmare.
Yeah, the Crested Sunmare is a white and 3 horse, has a 5/5 body. Other horses you control have indestructible. At the beginning of each instep, if you gain life this turn, create a 5/5 white horse creature token. I don't think this card is that unknown, so I'm probably preaching to the choir. But I could have these foods that I could sacrifice at any time, and they'll gain me life. It doesn't have to be, Crested Sunmare doesn't care how much we're gaining. Gain 1 life, and we're getting a 5/5 indestructible horse creature token. This card specifically has saved me because, who's going to swing in like, oh, it's a 5/5 indestructible horse token? Like, it's a token. Who cares if it dies? and it can't even die. Like I'm gonna exile the horse. I'd have to exile the Crested Sunmare, but he's still got a 5/5 blocker. It really deters attackers. And I said earlier that our hobbits are pretty small power wise. Well, 5/5 horse is certainly nothing to scoff at. And especially every turn we sacrifice a food and gain a life, we are getting another horse. I mean, it can get out of control fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that it doesn't say your instep, it says each instep.
Mm-hmm.
4 horses
Yeah.
every
There's the
go
food.
round.
There's the food. There's the food. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get 4 horses a turn or 4 horses a go around. Woo! Come on now.
Oof.
20 power in one go around the table if I have enough food.
Yeah. Gross. Very good. All right. And how are you getting that life? It's not just food. You have a lot of other ways to gain life in the deck, and I really like the ones that you've picked out to tell us about. I'm gonna take it, Fangrin
Yeah, go
Marauder.
for it.
Yeah. This costs 6 mana. Now you're getting up there in mana fast. But that's just because this is in the current commander metagame. Fangrin Marauder is absolutely busted.
It's a common from Old Phyrexia, the Old Phyrexia set. I don't think people know about this card.
Yeah, so it's a 6 mana 5/5 beast. It says whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may gain 5 life. So that's going to include your food tokens. So now when you're sacrificing a food, you're not just getting 3 life, but you're getting an additional 5. That's 8. But it also includes everybody's treasures, everybody's clues, everybody's artifact creatures. It just the blood tokens, the junk tokens, the new mutagen tokens when Ninja Turtles comes out.
Mm-hmm.
It just every single artifact that goes to the graveyard gets you 5 life. And because you're already doing the food token thing, it fits right in here. It synergizes with your own stuff. But this is going to gain you so much life over the course of a game. And when you're spending it all on big killing waves and drawing cards with Necropotence or Call of the Ring or whatever, this gives you a huge buffer. Not to mention it's a 5/5. It's going to be one of the bigger creatures on the board, probably. Well worth the 6 mana in a deck like this, I think.
Man, this card, my God. Think about the last time you were playing Commander and how many times you or any of your opponents used a treasure. Just one treasure, that's 5 life. And I mean, like, this card might as well say people cannot activate their treasures. They can't sacrifice their foods. They can't, whatever. I mean, it's disgusting. Like 5 life. I could, crack 2 foods and for 2 mana and gain 10 life.
Well,
Outrageous.
plus the food, so you're at 16 life.
Well, yeah, plus the food.
Yeah.
16 life for 2 mana. You
Ugh.
couldn't find a card that good.
No, that's 40% of your life, your starting life total.
Yeah.
And your deck's doing it anyway. Like you could easily run away with the game and set up some of the finishers we're going to talk about later with a card like this. 6 mana does mean you're waiting to get there, but your whole deck is setting up for it anyway. So it's a beautiful card. It can really shut people down because they how are they going to chew through all that life when without feeding into it with their treasures or their clues or their or all the other things that they're using. Everybody's running artifacts that die, right? And an artifact board wipe is going to gain you 100 life. Somebody Vandal
It's
Blast.
so good.
Yeah.
I don't know how much expensive it is now, but this used to be a common worth like less than a quarter.
Yeah, I'm going to look it
like
up.
50 cents now. Get them before this episode comes out.
Yeah. It is up to 50 cents. You're right.
That's the recession.
Yeah.
Hitting everybody.
The price of gold. Okay. Tell us about Agent of the Iron Throne.
Yeah, this is a background, black and 2 for the enchantment background. Commander creatures you control have, whenever an artifact or creature you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. So, not to mention our creatures dying. Every time we sacrifice a food, 1 life, 1 life, 1 life. And it's just going to nickel and dime your opponents. Plus, the backgrounds affect both of your commanders. So having Sam and Frodo, which is you usually have them both out, this is going to do lose 2 life, lose 2 life, lose 2 life every time I sacrifice a food.
And that's on top of the 3 life they're losing from the Ring Bearer.
Frodo doing this one little like that's what this does. It's just a death by 1,000 cuts. Ha ha ha, and then not to mention all the normal back and forth of people, attacking each other and doing their little chip damage or whatever. And suddenly you've got the whole board down. to like 10 life. And they're like, what happened? How is Derek still at, 50 life?
Yeah. And our listeners may be wondering, like, how are you keeping your commanders out there when you don't run enough protection? And the truth is, it's the ramp that you're always able to replay them and keep the engine going.
Yeah. Plus they're super cheap. Frodo costs 2 and Sam costs 3. I can
Yeah.
pay that, a few times before it starts to hurt the pocketbook.
Right. Yeah. And you have a similar one to Agent of the Iron Throne in Mirkwood Bats. I think Mirkwood Bats went crazy for a while. Tell us about Mirkwood Bats.
Yeah, this is a black and 3, 2/3 bat with flying. Whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 1 life. So
Create
food
or
coming in, food
sacrifice.
coming out. It's great. 2 life for a food's entire life cycle. Yeah, this plus Agent of the Iron Throne is just obliterating people.
I love that it's any token. So I mean that's just really good. It's obviously food is your main token tier. If you sacrifice some of your stuff to Killing Wave, it'll do it. It's just yeah, it's hitting people hard. And then I really like Gollum Obsessed Observer. It's
Obsessed Stalker.
Obsessed Stalker, excuse me. I don't know why I said Observer. Gollum
The heart once what
Obsessed
the heart wants.
That's Golem Obsessed Stalker. It's a 2-mana 1/1 with Skulk, so it can be blocked by creatures with greater power. That's similar to Frodo with the ring on him. And at the beginning of your instep, each opponent dealt combat damage this game by a creature named Golem Obsessed Stalker loses life equal to the amount of life you gained this turn. So he's so hard to block because he's a 1/1 with Skulk. You hit somebody with him, and now every instep, let's say you gained 8 life this turn. Every opponent that Golems hit is losing 8 life, and that's draining them so fast.
Yeah, can you imagine if you had this plus Fangrin Marauder?
I mean, the game's over in a turn or two.
Yeah.
And what's great is if they kill one, well, they still got to deal with the other one. Let's say they kill Fangrin Marauder, well, you're still gaining life in other ways. Golem's still hitting people. If they kill Golem, you're still gaining 8 to 15 life a turn because of Fangrin Marauder. Just really every little piece, they're just not worth killing on their own. They're small.
Yes.
Mirkwood Bats, it's a 2/3 flying, right? They're just people are not running enough removal to kill every little piece of the puzzle, and every card is doing a little bit. So, like you said, death by 1,000 cuts. It's deeper cuts, right? But it's still doing a lot.
I mean, you mentioned it, but just to, I guess, re-emphasize, like that's the beauty of this deck is that the threats and the cards are there's such a decentralization of power. There's like, I can't decide what is killing me the most. Like, do I get rid of Frodo so they can't get the ring temp stuff? Do I get rid of Sam so he's not cracking foods for 1 less? Do I get rid of Fangrin Marauder so he doesn't get a lot of life? Do I get rid of the Mirkwood Bats because they're pinging me every time? Do I get rid of the horses so I can attack and not have to worry about blockers every turn? It's just like, what do you do? It's just like you said, it's a real inevitability. I would assume. I've never played against this deck.
I mean, that's what I mentioned earlier. Just it has that sense of inevitability that you cannot kill everything. If you kill the commanders 3 or 4 times, the rest of the deck's still getting you, right? Like Fangrin Marauder plus Golem is still going to kill me, even if I kept your commanders off the board. But if I held removal and didn't keep your commanders off the board, your commanders are going to kill me.
Yeah.
Right? So there's just no easy way to win. You have to play heavy control to keep this deck in check or run some silver bullets, and just most people aren't running that at bracket 3. It's just not the system. So this is one of those decks that can really, I like the resilience of it, because even though your game plan is focused around your commanders, it can certainly go off without, just maybe a little slower.
Yeah.
Now we've been talking about death by 1,000 cuts, but these next 2 cards are one quick cut.
Yeah, the final Kamehameha.
That's right. A very popular card in our meta, Aetherflux Reservoir. I think it goes in any life gain deck, goes in any storm deck, goes in a bunch of decks, really. Whenever you cast a spell, you gain a life for each spell you've cast this turn. Well, you've got a lot of life gain triggers in here, so just that is already doing work for you. But, of course, the bigger thing is pay 50 life, Aetherflux Reservoir deals 50 damage to target creature or player. So you have Fangrin Marauder out, Aetherflux Reservoir is lurking around the corner. Just every time you're getting life and you're digging with all your card draw, you're just waiting for to flip over Aetherflux Reservoir and just win the game. It's
Yeah.
like a
Let me
one-card
just get rid
combo.
of the worst player or the most threatening player, and
Yeah.
then I'll deal with the other 2 on my own time. Or I'll get 50 life back and do it again or something, you know?
Yeah. It's great that you can just play it, hold priority, kill somebody. It's kind of an unanswerable threat in this deck because while the deck is doing its thing, you are basically charging up your death laser, but it's just hidden in your library. They can't stop it. Basically, it's counter it or die. That's your opponent's choice, and that feels bad because it's basically a 1-card combo in a deck like this.
Yeah.
All right, tell us about Frodo Sauron's Bane.
Yeah, this one's a little goofy, and people are gonna be like, "Wait, what?" This is Frodo Sauron's Bane. It costs 1 white, and then the body's a 1/2. It's a halfling citizen. Then it's got a hybrid white black, so 2 hybrid white black cost there. If Frodo Sauron's Bane is a citizen, which it starts out as, it becomes a halfling scout with base power and toughness 2/3 and lifelink. So another life gain triggers when he attacks. Then black. If Frodo is a scout, it becomes a halfling rogue whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game if the ring has tempted you 4 more times this game, otherwise the ring tempts you. So not only is this another ring tempts you trigger, by the time this comes out, we could probably pay all of the mana. Well, play it for 1, let it go around the table because it's got summoning sickness, and then, white, black, and I swing in, I make it my ring
Bear?
bearer. So, anything with power 3 or greater is not going to be able to block it for 1. I probably already have the ring Temshu maxed out. So I've just killed whoever I wanted to at that time. So fun. I think I've killed Travis with this before. Kind of out of nowhere. Again, it's
Yeah,
only
they got
5
one
mana.
turn to respond to it.
Yeah, you've got 1 turn before I pay 5 mana and kill someone.
Yeah. And the kind of the cool thing is it's cool if you put it out early too. It's fine on turn 1 while you're
Mhm.
building towards other Frodo. And if for whatever reason conditions aren't right, it's its own win con. You can pump this up on turn 2, pump it again on turn 3, and start getting in. Go ahead and have the ring tempting you, and then they have to deal with that before and while you get to build up the rest of your board. So it's
Yeah.
good early, but like you said, good late where you can put all 6 mana into it and turn it into a death machine.
Yeah, I mean, think about the sneakiness of this. Play Frodo Sauron's Bane early. It's out there. People aren't super concerned about it. You've got the other Frodo out, or you're getting your ring temps you up to, level, what does it need to be? 4 more times. Get it to 4. People aren't, super paying attention because this is a trigger that just kind of happens and people lose track of what's going on. I don't know if it's I don't know if you're obligated to tell your opponents, hey, it's at 4. I mean, you probably should, but, tell them once, and then after that, that's on them. So you get in there, you swing. They're like, do I block? And maybe he pays the 5 mana to kill me right now, or do I let other Frodo get in, deal all his little damage and all that little fun stuff.
Yeah, you can pay the 5 mana after they declare no blocks.
Yeah, kill him out
Gross.
of nowhere.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I like that you have some quick win cards on top of the death by 1,000 cuts because they have to consider it. They can't not keep these cards in mind because once again, if they blow all their removal on your early game threats and your commanders, then Frodo's going to get them in the
Mhm.
late game or Aetherflux Reservoir. So they need stuff early and late. And I think that's part of good deck building is having multiple ways to win, even if they're on the same axis, right? Your game plan provides you different ways. I think that makes this really good. I did notice you didn't have any lands that really play into the game plan. There's no ring tempt 2 lands or anything like that. You just have a solid mana base with 36 good lands.
Yeah.
So if y'all are curious what kind of lands he puts in there, you can, again, check out the deck's description down below and check out this episode where we talk about how to build a good mana base. I do see that you have very few lands that are forced to come into play untapped. Good for you.
Yeah, I tried to avoid them as best I can. I think Path of Ancestry might be the only one.
You have Sandstep Citadel
Oh yeah, okay. Well,
and Evolving
sue me.
Wilds. You can cut the Evolving Wilds. No, I think Sandstep Citadel is a fine inclusion in the deck.
Yeah.
Evolving Wild's probably the only one that I'm kind of like, eh. But it's just 3. It's just 3 of your 36 lands. It's really important that you hit white, black, green in order.
Yes.
So early game, you really don't want those tap lands. But
Yeah.
the nice thing is you don't have to play something on turn 1 if you don't want to. Play your tap land then, and you have the vast majority of these come into play untapped. You shouldn't have to worry after that. So
Yes.
yeah, I think you have a good mana base here. All right, so that's the game plan for this deck. Gain life, sacrifice food, get tempted by the ring, and just slowly bleed your opponents dry. Anything else you want to tell us about this deck?
I think that's it. It's a lot of fun to play, but let me tell you, the triggers can get overwhelming because when Frodo's going off, you're like, okay, I'm drawing this card, and then I'm, doing the ring tipsy trigger, and then Gollum's got a trigger over here, and this has got a trigger over there. It's just like all that stuff. It's a good deck to really hone your skills about like, triggers and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's good. That's good for our listeners to understand. If you do decide to play this deck or a deck like it, understanding your triggers, boldfishing with it so you can get used to the lines and stuff like that is very good. All right. Well, thank you for sharing your deck with us and with our show and with our listeners. And thank you for joining me on the show, Derek.
Yeah.
Listeners,
thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'm glad you're here. Listeners, tune in next time for a good deck.
Later, guys.
This episode was sponsored by Eldorado Gaming. Use the promo code META for 10% off your order. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. This episode was edited by me, Travis Konishek, and our intro and outro music is by Tyler Heath of the Oh Hellos.